Welcome back for another episode of the DNVR Avalanche Playoff Series previews. This time we're previewing Vegas versus Winnipeg, the 1 seed from the Western Conference. Vegas Golden Knights. I think a lot of people have lost a little bit of faith in this team. With that being said, if we bring up their record, I mean, they're no joke. This is a team that was pushing for not Boston levels, but the top of any team in the league. Came a little bit short of the beasts in the East. But
who lost faith in them?
I think everybody. I think everyone feels like they're kind of
look at our preseason predictions,
yeah.
and you'll see that none of us had faith in them.
I think I had them in the playoffs.
In the playoffs.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had them as a wild card team.
I believe them to get into the playoffs. I don't know that I believed in them to be a cup contender.
Well, let's not get carried away here.
Then that's the conversation we're going to get into. Hard to argue against their regular season record. It is very good.
Look, the part that's impressive about this for Vegas is for me is the same that's impressive about what the Avs have done. The number of man games lost and where the injuries have come. I mean, I've lost track of the amount of goalies that Vegas has used this year, and Jonathan Quick had to come in and
well, he wasn't amazing.
Save the day to the extent that Jonathan Quick of 2023 can.
They finished with 189 man games lost at the goaltender position.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Imagine that.
And so that's the part to me that
This would be like if the Avs won their division on the back of Justus Annunen and Jonas Johansson.
Right.
It's incredibly impressive.
yeah, absolutely.
Now, there's a couple of different factors here with Vegas. Since we're talking about goaltenders, we all know Megan is the biggest Logan Thompson fan on the show. So
I want to wear that title.
I don't even know if that's true.
You're a pretty big fan,
Yeah.
too.
For
That's
what it's
fair.
worth, I think between the two of us who had doubts that he could be a starter, I had the least doubts.
I'll give that to you.
And I think that is where this starts with the early season predictions. It all stems from goaltending question marks. They just became very different questions. It became a matter of injury because I think Logan Thompson emerged as a true starter. The injury has been what has been most difficult, though. But in the games that we have seen him play, he, I think, earned that, being considered a true starter.
I mean, when we
that's
talk
why-
about the two rookie goaltenders that are starting for playoff teams this year, Stuart Skinner, Logan Thompson, I think there's a different confidence level with Logan Thompson, right?
Yep.
I think for the reason of the team that he plays behind.
Is that all of the reason?
For me, yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's who he is as a person. I think his path to the NHL was unconventional, and you have to have a lot of belief in yourself to grind it out in college in Canada. Go through, I think he went ECHL, AHL, then NHL, and it wasn't always a guarantee, so you have to believe in yourself. You have to have a high level of confidence.
I mean, no doubt about it. It is interesting. There's no clear questions here, right? It is Logan Thompson going into the playoffs. If you're Vegas, you're not thinking about anyone else.
If he's healthy.
Assuming health, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's Laurent Brossoit. And it's kind of funny if you roll into a postseason series
the
with
Jets.
Laurent Brossoit against the Jets, who are like,
Been there.
we're good as their backup. Like, I think that changes the dynamic of the series quite a bit. If Brossoit is the guy for Vegas, it changes how I feel about the series a lot. My confidence in Logan Thompson is at least that high.
Well, and here's where things get interesting is when you start looking at the rest of Vegas's roster. We can bring up their top scorers. I do think this is another one of those teams that you're asking who's the guy. Jack Eichel, super solid. Is he really that superstar level of guy for you? And, there's some decent scoring on this list, but the guy not listed is maybe the most important in Mark Stone, who is healthy, question mark?
Apparently. Well, he's out indefinitely and nobody has seen him. And then the 3 days before the regular season ends, he's full participant in practice.
Funny how that works.
Took the words out of my mouth. Jack Eichel's been a bit disappointing since getting here, no?
Yeah.
I'd agree. As the guy who's supposed to come in and be the superstar, for sure.
We were talking about, they needed to make these changes. You need to do this. Look at that list. More things change. More they stay the same. There's Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith still.
Yeah.
It's just their point totals are in the 50s instead of the 80s.
It is kind of funny that, and again, obviously, the Mark Stone injury affects this, but with all of the changes, all of the moves, all of the free agent signings, the trade, the deadline, all the cap stuff, and to your point, it's Chandler Stevenson, it's Jonathan Marchessault, it's Riley Smith, expansion draft picks. I don't know, like, this team is what's scary about this list to me is that all of those guys have the ability to kind of take over a shift. You know, Jack Eichel can he can make some show-stopping plays. It is just a little weird to me. Like, it hasn't really happened. In a year where scoring exploded.
Yeah.
The Vegas Golden Knights to win the Pacific Division with Jack Eichel leading the way at 66 points.
Yeah, and, you know, to the injuries, obviously, there are games played considerations with these
It's
guys.
nearly
as well.
a point per game for Eichel, which is still
But I mean,
less than what you'd expect.
But you're talking about, hey, availability continues to be a thing.
Right.
You're going to do. Are we
And I guess that's
confident they're
my-
going to be good for 4 rounds?
Well, and I guess that's my point. Is it's like the fact that you, whether it be availability or just raw production, your leading scorer at 66 points. It almost kind of leans to like, I don't know what to expect from them offensively.
Yeah.
If Mark Stone's back, that adds another element.
Yeah.
Can Jack Eichel, is this the first time we're seeing him in the playoffs?
It is. First time in his career.
So, does he have a gear to take it up? Because
Yeah,
that's
who knows?
that was the whole conversation with it, right? When Vegas landed Jack Eichel, what we all talked about was that's tough for the Avs because another superstar just landed in the West. And it just hasn't played out that way. He was good last year when they were, really kind of battling through it. He was kind of a bright spot. He's been fine this year. But what does Jack Eichel do in the postseason?
Yeah. And Jack Eichel's going to be going against, they are going against a team that has centers in the Jets.
Yep.
So, Jack Eichel and William Karlsson is your 1 and 2 C's. Pretty good matchup. But going against the Jets, you've got Mark Scheifele and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Those guys are pretty good.
No free knockouts there. We already talked about it, but the X factor to me for Vegas is absolutely Logan Thompson.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I usually don't like to put goalies as X factors because it feels like cheating a little bit, but when one is as important as Logan Thompson is to Vegas, it's hard not to look at that and go, hey, your entire playoffs pretty much rest on this guy.
Yep.
So I think it's
Do
pretty
they,
simple.
though?
I think they do.
Because to the point that we made earlier, like, they got here like in spite of their goaltending situation this year.
Yeah, and regular season success is one thing, but
Sure, but
winning playoff rounds with Laurent Brossoit.
But my point is, like, I just don't know if you're saying Laurent Brossoit or Logan. For me, I just don't know if it's like, I don't think that if they're going to lose, it's going to be because there's a question mark in net, whether it's Logan Thompson or Laurent
I think
Brossoit.
specifically in this matchup, he's definitely the X factor because you're going against Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
And you need to close the gap as much as you can in net. And I don't trust Laurent Brossoit in a best of 7.
I don't either, but I guess the point I'm making is I don't believe in the rest of the Winnipeg Jets team enough to say that.
I don't.
Again, I'm with you. Sure, Logan Thompson, because I don't know who else it would be. But I guess my whole point with this matchup in particular is I just don't think Winnipeg is that good.
For me, it's less the belief in the Jets and more we've seen not only from the list of top scorers, but the last year they were in the playoffs, their scoring just dried up.
Yeah.
And every time their playoff run has ended, it's because their scoring just went away randomly.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going in a series against Connor Hellebuyck, who's probably the best goaltender in the West.
And I don't see how their scoring stays consistent, so they're going to need Thompson to steal some games for them.
I think he deserves some credit too. Henderson was in the Calder Cup playoffs last year, and they fallen to the bottom in the American League. And I think that is a testament to how much when Logan Thompson was the starter in the AHL for Henderson, how he changed the course of their season. Because not much has changed beyond goaltending, and it's taken a toll because of the needs that Vegas has asked of Henderson. They've called up goaltenders from there, so that harms the team generally. But I think him being the starter in Henderson's why they even had success last year.
See, and I guess I'm just jaded on this kind of stuff because typically he's 26 years old. To your point, ECHL, AHL, then it wasn't until all the injuries piled up last year that he kind of got thrust into this situation. I'm just typically kind of a firm believer in, at that point, a guy kind of has told you who he is, and that's likely where he settles in. Look at a guy like Jordan Binnington, Matt Murray, these types of guys, Scott Darling. There's always these stories of these guys, long road, they get there, and I'm with you. It says something about perseverance to get in there, but I just feel like typically those guys end up settling back in somewhere to who they were when they were 24, 25, settling into their career.
I think Thompson's their long-term starter.
Ooh, then I think they're in trouble.
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons Vegas is in trouble after this year, but that's a different show for a different time.
See, it's hard for me to say that, though, just with what they did this year. Like, it was an impressive effort
It
this
was
year.
impressive.
On the other side, less impressive, the Winnipeg Jets squeaking into the playoffs.
Going from first in the West in mid-January to barely making it at all.
Yeah, it was not pretty, particularly the second half of the year with Winnipeg. And I know we've mentioned this before, but it really did feel like Connor Hellebuyck just ran out of gas.
Yeah, so Connor Hellebuyck was great. The Jets were winning a lot of games. Connor Hellebuyck really struggled. The Jets lost a lot of games. Connor Hellebuyck rebounded. The Jets won enough games to get into the postseason.
I thought they were going to choke it away, man.
That is the story of the Jets. Not competitive at all, really, against Vegas this year. Head-to-head, got smoked. Not super competitive. Don't know that it's a very good matchup for them. We talk about like the scoring drying up and Connor Hellebuyck and all this, but really, like the Jets, they just kind of faded as a team. It wasn't just Connor Hellebuyck. He's just sort of the common thread between when Connor Hellebuyck plays well, the Jets win games. When Connor Hellebuyck doesn't, they lose games. There's not a lot of overcoming anything other than elite goaltending. Their defense remains poor. Their offensive production was a lot more of what they expected this year. The availability of Nick Ehlers in this series is in question after the Ryan Hartman hit this last week. We don't know what his status is. We don't know what the status of Cole Perfetti is. He was supposed to be a guy that was supposed to come back already. And the last time that there was an update on him, it was like he was dead. Like they'd never heard of him. So we don't really know what's going on there. Those are two really important guys for depth scoring for the Jets. If they were to seriously make a push at Vegas.
See, and again, this is my thing. Winnipeg, AJ, we were talking, this was several weeks ago now. You were talking about how Z was making the joke, I don't want them to make the playoffs because I need this to be a lesson for them to finally tear this down and properly build it back up. That's just where, when I look at the Jets, I just see a team that doesn't really have a direction. Cool, you got in. It's going to take a miracle for you to make any kind of noise.
Good work. That's
So-
the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs right
Gonna
there.
take a miracle.
Making a lot
yeah,
of noise.
Who makes more noise, Jesse now or the Jets in the postseason?
Jets in the postseason. Ehlers is going to be fine. It's precautionary.
that's one believer on the show in Ehlers.
It is unusual to me though that he's utilized in a depth role.
All year with that guy. His relationship
Well,
with
and
Rick
health.
Bowness is like weird.
So that's what's interesting for Jets with me is culture has been a topic of conversation for a while, and I think they took a big step forward in terms of locker room cohesion this year. But there are still question marks around things like the utilization of players like a Nick Ehlers. So I think he's going to be fine. I think that's kind of an X factor in ways, not just because of health, but because of what version of Nick Ehlers you're going to get. This season, even his health, he has missed significant portions that the time that he did played, he was producing, but it's like you said, it is very up and down, and there's going to be a bit that hinges on him. Can he have a JT Compher in the playoffs type of effect?
Well, he's battling his own postseason history where
It's not
the first
great,
three times that he ever went to the playoffs, he didn't score any goals. And then in the bubble, goes off, like is awesome, right? Like and finally breaks through in the postseason and looks like he's going to become the player that they've been waiting for him to become.
And then the Jets became the Jets
then
right
they
now,
stopped
yeah.
making the playoffs. So like it's It's just been a really weird thing. We talked about culture. Mark Scheifele was in open revolt this year against Rick Bowness at times.
It is worth noting as
Really
we bring
tough.
up their top scorers. It's not like Ehlers is their only weapon.
Yeah.
They do have other options at the top. This is certainly a roster that isn't getting any younger, though.
Yeah.
That happened to me earlier this year on a radio hit in Edmonton.
Nice.
Yeah.
Struggling out here.
I cursed you because of what you said about Logan.
I was going to say, I could tell I pissed you off.
So you have that side with the Jets. Megan, you nailed it. I picked Nick Ehlers as the X factor. So
The emergence of Mason Appleton too this time of year.
I don't know
Depth
if I'm a
scoring?
believer in Mason Appleton the way I know AJ is.
You-
I really personally think that this series is pretty cut and dry for all of the unbelief I have in Vegas. I don't expect this one to be that close.
Yeah, same.
And
As I was saying, I just don't think Winnipeg's that good.
same.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Morrissey is really the only. I mean, he had a very, very good season. It was a very good first half. The second half, he came back to earth a little bit. He's really the only defenseman of note. All the other guys are more of depth guys who are having to play up. It has been a brutally bad season for Neil Pionk.
The
Huge,
season,
huge problem for them.
Everyone was afraid of with that
It's
guy.
a huge
Yeah.
problem for them is that he's been put in a big role and has completely fallen apart with it. You can't overcome that in a best of 7. You can't hide him.
Their
Yeah.
defense is my biggest concern.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our predictions then. I won't beat around the bush with this one. I'm picking Vegas to sweep.
Okay, good, because I did not remember mine.
I also did not remember, but I feel like that's pretty appropriate. I think I want to give the Jets a win in Winnipeg.
Yeah, that's what I've
because that is going to be
It's a building that goes off. For
really,
sure.
really, really intense environment. Would really like to see them reward that fan base with a win at home. Just don't get swept. Dude, gentlemen's sweeps are fine. Just don't get swept.
This actually, this is a fun series in terms of buildings, like two really good atmospheres.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun series for that.
I'm here for a good time, not a long
There
time.
we go. Let's go.
Honestly, I have
millennial
very
credo.
real concerns about Logan Thompson's health. Like, this is a matter of timing being the issue for me. If Logan Thompson, I had confidence that he was going to be healthy through this series, very different outcome. But I just have a lot of concerns surrounding LT.
And I think that's a little bit of the magic of the playoffs. Is
He'll be back in Henderson next year.
Eddie-
Watch him there.
He's
Any
not
chance?
American League goaltender, Jesse.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Well, I mean, his entire career said otherwise, but sure, yes.
Any chance that any
would
team
like
has
to
could be
see Jared
derailed by
Bednar if he's
injuries
close
at any
enough.
time. So we'll see. I think it would be tough for Winnipeg, but it'd be fun.
Well, and it would be great because that would put them in the Pacific bracket and just like nuke everyone's bracket. And now the West is even more wide open. The
No
West is
kidding.
not wide open.
Slammed shut by an avalanche, I've heard.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to wrap up this series preview for you. Plenty more coming on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Take a look at the playlist. We will be back with another one, probably just playing in 2 minutes on your computer.